Way back in 1996, Michael Jordan, at the peak of his powers and fame, went on a tour with Nike called Nike Hoop Heroes. It was essentially a world tour where Nike athletes would play a promotional game against the country's Nike-sponsored athletes. And that year, Nike ended up in Tokyo, Japan, the first time Michael Jordan ever went to Japan. And during that tour, Michael Jordan played 1-on-1 against a boy who was wearing a UNC uniform. And Nike, 27 years later, decided to use that moment as inspiration for this shoe. The Air Jordan 1 Low Tokyo 96. And you might have guessed it from the name, this shoe never made its way to the United States. It released on March 23rd in Tokyo, Japan, and then made its way around Asia. Thankfully, I do have family back in Asia, so I was lucky enough to get my hands on a pair. Now, this shoe intentionally goes for that pre-aged vintage aesthetic. A lot of times now with Jordan Brand, they do that pre-aged aesthetic without really giving a reason why. I complain about it, I think it's kind of played out, but for this shoe, I think it makes sense. The whole point of the shoe is to bring you back to 1996, the first time Michael Jordan was in Japan. So when there's a reason behind pre-aging a shoe, I totally get it. And the upper sole of the shoe comes with this gray suede base layer. And because it's suede, I have to run my fingers over it. And it feels pretty nice. It's not the best suede. I think there's better suede out there, but it's pretty nice. And you see the blue and dark gray leather overlays. Now the leather on this shoe, it's pretty nice, not the best. Now the material on the swoosh is slightly different. You see this faux lizard skin or faux snake skin material on the swoosh. And that is because when Michael Jordan played 1-on-1 against that boy back in 1996 in Japan, he was wearing the Jordan 12s. So the Jordan 12s has snake skin near the mudguard. So that is the throwback and reference back to that moment. Really, really cool idea, really, really cool detail. If you didn't know, or if you didn't do the research behind the story of this shoe, you probably would have missed that detail. But now that you know the story, I really like how they tie it all together. Now generally, I don't like faux lizard skin or snake skin on sneakers. I just don't like the way it looks. I feel like when you look at it closely or long enough, it just feels like a lot of dots. This gives me some weird feeling. But because of the story behind the faux lizard skin here, I'm going to give them a pass. I think that's really cool. Now if there's one weakness on the shoe, I feel like it's all concentrated on the tongue. So the color of the tongue is pretty unique. It's this pinkish peach color. It's actually very similar to the tongue on the Air Jordan 1 Wash Pink that I just reviewed. So if you look at the shades there, I think it's pretty similar. And you also see that exposed foam on the tongue. Now this isn't the only Air Jordan 1 Low with exposed foam, but generally I hate exposed foam on a shoe. I just don't know why they do it. I feel like if rain gets on that foam, it's going to destroy it. And as someone that lives in New England where the weather it can get rainy and it even snows during the winter quite a bit, I don't really like that material. And adding to that, I feel like this orange Jumpman on the tongue kind of just stands out, a bit of an eyesore. Don't love it. And because this isn't an Air Jordan 1 Low OG, the shape of the tongue is slightly different. So you see the shape of the tongue on this shoe, it's shorter. However, on the Tokyo 96, it's a much longer tongue. I really do prefer the shape of the tongue on the OGs. I feel like this is just too long. It's too dominant on a low-cut shoe. And on the booty of the shoe, you see the Wings logo embroidered in that yellow golden color. Really, really love how that looks. Now this shoe does come with a rubber midsole, and it is a pre-aged yellow midsole. And I don't really generally like that color on a midsole. I don't love the pre-aged aesthetic. But because of the story and details behind the shoe, it's trying to take us back to 1996. So I guess it kind of makes sense. And it doesn't look too bad on the shoe. I still feel like if it was white, just aesthetic wise, it'll look better. But again, I'll give them a pass for the storytelling. And there is a Nike Air unit on the heel of the shoe, about as minimal cushioning as you can get. And you see the iconic Air Jordan 1 outsole in what Nike calls Dutch blue. I really like this blue. I feel like it's between like a UNC blue and like a darker navy or true blue. And I dig it. And generally, I really like this colorway. I like how the blue and the gray play off each other. And I like this kind of very light gray suede base layer. And the shoe comes with this cream off-white sail color laces. This shoe doesn't come with any extra laces. I'm not actually quite sure what color laces I would have on this shoe instead. Maybe white just to make it really pop. But I feel like the whole point of this shoe is to avoid white, is to avoid anything that might make a product look new. So I guess the default laces look about as good as it can be. The box of the shoe is a black Wings logo box. Now I think for most Jordan 1 Low non-OG shoes, it comes with a Jumpman box, but I wonder maybe because it's going for a vintage retro aged aesthetic for the shoe comes with the original Wings logo box instead. Now moving on to sizing and comfort, I'm a size 9.5 true to size. I do have wide feet, and the Air Jordan 1 is one of the shoes that I don't have to go up half a size for. It fits pretty well, it's not too tight in any one area. Sometimes the toe box requires some breaking in, but because it's leather, it's not the worst. And because the arch over here doesn't go all the way up, where people with wider or flat feet might have problems, generally for Air Jordan 1s, I always just go true to size. Comfort wise, the Air Jordan 1 is not always the most comfortable shoe. Now the padding on the ankle collar, it's not the best compared to shoes like the Jordan 2, where it feels very squishy and very soft, and the cushioning in the soles, it's not the greatest. And it makes sense, it is an old shoe. If they updated the technology, it would fundamentally change the shoe quite a bit. So it does make sense that it's not the most comfortable shoe, especially when viewing through a 2023 perspective. And the total sole score for the Air Jordan 1 Low Tokyo 96 comes to 18 out of 25, and right around the middle of all the shoes that I've reviewed. The colorway is nice overall. I really like how the blue and the two shades of gray, the light and the dark, play off each other. Love that. One thing I don't love is the color of the tongue and the orange Jumpman, but because of those are accents, they don't appear in too many places. It's not a big deal breaker. And the versatility of the shoe, the Air Jordan 1 Low, might be one of the most versatile silhouettes ever. Some people might actually prefer the lows over the highs in terms of wearability, and I wouldn't really disagree with them. I think the Air Jordan 1 highs are just so classic. But if someone said the lows just are more wearable, it's not really like a hot take. It is a very wearable silhouette. And the colorway itself, I think these colors, pretty primary colors with the very subtle and muted tones of gray, it's pretty versatile in terms of colorway. Now the material of this shoe, I think there's better suede and better leather that I've seen on other shoes, and I just really dislike the exposed foam. And the biggest strength for this shoe is the storytelling, but only if you do your research and you know the inspiration that it draws from. The story behind the shoe is just so cool, really brings people back to a certain point in time, back when Michael Jordan was at the peak of his powers, and for people that were born too late, that never saw Michael Jordan play, it gives them into a window into one of the most famous athletes in the world. The details like using that faux lizard skin on the swoosh, the reference Michael Jordan wearing the Jordan 12s when he was playing against that boy, to the pre-aged aesthetic, even though I think pre-aged is kind of played out, but when there's a reason, I think it really works. I'm really a sucker for when companies throw in little nuggets on their sneakers, and when you do your research, you notice how everything ties together. It may not be obvious on the surface, but when you look into it, it just totally makes sense. Before the release of this shoe, I didn't know Michael Jordan went to Japan for the first time in 1996. I didn't know about the Nike Hoops Hero program. I didn't know he played one-on-one with that little boy, but that's what I love about sneakers. Through a shoe alone, you can convey a whole story that many people may not know about. And not only does this shoe look good, think about that boy in 2023. Every time he sees someone wearing this shoe, he gets transported and taken back to that time, a special moment in history where he had the opportunity to play against the greatest of all time. So that's it. Thanks for watching Sole Inclined. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.